She sprinted past my desk like her life depended on it. Pale. Sweating. Eyes wide with panic. And I just sat there, calmly eating crackers from the vending machine. Because here's the thing, I knew exactly what was happening. I had planned every single second of it. And the best part? I had a doctor's note. If you've ever been dismissed, disrespected, or flat out ignored when you were clearly in the right, this one is for you. Hit that like button, make sure you're subscribed, and settle in. Because what this lunch thief didn't realize was that stealing from the wrong person was about to become the biggest mistake of her career. Let's get into it. It's a Tuesday. You've woken up 20 minutes early because you wanted to do something nice for yourself. You packed a real lunch. Not sad desk food. Not a granola bar you'd forget about until 3 p.m. A proper sandwich, fresh sourdough, sliced turkey, ripe avocado, a little lemon, a little sea salt. Something you were actually looking forward to. You get to the office. You tuck your lunch bag into the communal fridge. You go to your desk. You grind through 4 hours of back-to-back emails, a meeting that could have been an email, and a printer that jams on principle. And then finally, it's lunchtime. You walk to the break room. You open the fridge. And your lunch is gone. Again. Look, the first time it happened, I told myself it was a mistake. Maybe someone grabbed the wrong bag. Maybe there was a mix-up. I'm a reasonable person. I gave the benefit of the doubt. The second time? I was annoyed, but fine. I bought something from the cafe downstairs and moved on. But by the fifth time? Something shifts inside you. It stops being about the food. Because it was never really about the food. It's about the fact that someone in your office, someone who walks past you, who smiles at you in the hallway, who maybe even says good morning, is looking at your clearly labeled lunch bag, deciding it belongs to them, and taking it anyway. Every single time. That's not a mistake. That's a choice. And it's a choice that says, I don't respect you. Your time, your money, your effort, none of it matters to me. By the 10th time, my jaw would tighten every time I walked into that break room. My stomach would drop before I even opened the fridge door. I'd stand there staring at the empty shelf where my lunch used to be, and I could feel my blood pressure rising in real time. By the 12th time? I wasn't just angry. I was humiliated. Now, our company had a policy. If food theft happened repeatedly, you were supposed to report it to HR. So that's exactly what I did. Every third or fourth incident, I sat down and filled out the paperwork. I described the situation. I listed the dates. I was thorough. I was professional. And every single time? Nothing. No investigation. No warning email sent to the office. No cameras installed in the break room. Just a polite, hollow response from HR that essentially said, "Oh no, that's unfortunate. Thanks for letting us know." I started to feel like I was invisible. Like I was shouting into a void. Like the entire system, the company, the HR department, the unspoken social contract of sharing a workspace with other adults, had collectively decided that my problem simply wasn't worth solving. So I kept filing complaints. And I kept losing my lunch. And I kept spending my own money at the cafe downstairs just so I wouldn't spend the rest of the workday running on caffeine and resentment. Then came the day of my annual doctor's appointment. I was sitting in the exam room, and I don't even fully remember how we got there, but at some point I was venting. Full rant. The lunch thief, the HR complaints that went nowhere, the money I was bleeding every week, all of it. My doctor, who I've seen for years, who has the energy of a man who has heard everything, listened patiently for about 90 seconds. And then he started laughing. Not in a mean way. In the way someone laughs when they think a situation is both ridiculous and deeply relatable. When he finally composed himself, he tilted his head and asked me something completely out of nowhere. "So, are you constipated?" I blinked. What? No. Why are you asking me that? He didn't answer right away. He just got this look on his face. The kind of look that means an idea just arrived, fully formed, and it's a good one. He pulled out his prescription pad. Wrote something down. Slid it across the desk without a word. Then he looked up at me, completely deadpan, and said, "Mix this with your lunch for maximum effect." I looked down at the paper. It was a prescription for a very strong laxative. I looked back up at him. He shrugged. Just following medical instructions. And that's when the slow grin started spreading across my face. I went home that night and I thought about it carefully. I'm not a reckless person. I turned it over in my mind from every angle. Was this too far? Was I being vindictive? But then I thought about 12 stolen lunches. 12 HR complaints that went nowhere. 12 afternoons of sitting at my desk, hungry and frustrated, buying food I shouldn't have had to buy. I thought about the fact that I had tried the right way. Multiple times. And I decided that if someone was determined to eat my food, then they were going to eat my food. All of it. The next morning, I made my sandwich carefully. Sourdough bread. Turkey. And a generous layer of avocado spread, into which I had thoroughly mixed a very significant dose of prescription-strength laxative. I put it in my lunch bag. I labeled it with my name, same as always. I walked into the office, tucked it into the communal fridge, and went to my desk. And then I waited. I worked. I answered emails. I sat in on a call. I kept my face completely neutral. I didn't look toward the break room. I didn't act any differently than I did on any other day. But internally? I was counting down. Lunchtime came. I got up, walked to the break room, opened the fridge. The bag was gone. I stood there for a moment, very still. Then I walked to the vending machine, got some crackers, sat back down at my desk, and waited some more. Approximately 45 minutes later, the atmosphere in the office started to change. There was whispering near the far side of the floor. Someone hurried past my desk in the direction of the restrooms with a very specific kind of urgency. Then someone else followed. And then, commotion. The kind of low-level office chaos that makes everyone look up from their screens. I set down my crackers. I straightened my jacket. And I walked to HR. I knocked on the door. Stepped inside. The HR manager looked up from her desk with the specific expression of a person who has seen my name on too many complaint forms. "Let me guess," she said, already sighing. "Your lunch was stolen again?" "Yes," I said, keeping my voice calm and pleasant. "And I also need to report that my medication was stolen." She stopped. "Your medication?" "Yes. I've been having some digestive issues, and my doctor recently prescribed a fairly strong laxative. He specifically instructed me to mix it into my midday meal for best results." I paused just long enough. "Someone stole my lunch today. Which means they also stole my prescribed medication." The color that left her face went somewhere I'll never be able to describe properly. It just evacuated. "You're saying there was prescription medication in my clearly labeled lunch. Which was stolen?" "As I have reported to this office 12 times. She understood immediately. Because what I needed her to understand, what the lunch thief hadn't understood until approximately 45 minutes ago, is that stealing someone's prescription medication isn't just inconsiderate. It's a crime. Within the hour, security was involved. Shortly after that, the police arrived. And the person they were looking for? They didn't have to go very far. She was a supervisor from another department. Sat 2 floors up. Someone who had, apparently, been wandering down to our break room on a regular basis and helping herself to whatever looked good. And today, what had looked good was my entire avocado sandwich. The officers found her in the restroom, pale and sweating, in a state that I will describe only as extremely unpleasant. She was questioned right there. And she actually tried, to claim that I had poisoned her. I was asked to come speak with the officers, and I remember feeling completely calm. Almost serene. At what point, I asked her quietly, "Did you decide my lunch was meant for you?" She didn't have an answer for that. I then explained to the officers that I had been filing HR complaints about repeated lunch theft for months, that I had received no response or resolution, and that today I had been following explicit instructions from my physician regarding my prescription medication that had now been stolen, leaving me without access to it. That's when I watched the full weight of the situation land on her face. She went quiet. And she stayed quiet until her lawyer arrived. Small offices in small towns talk fast. Within days, everyone knew. The supervisor faced fines and community service. She lost her job. And the position she vacated? It went to someone from our floor, someone I genuinely liked and respected, who had earned it properly. As for me, I finally got to eat my lunch. Every single day after that, I'd sit down in the break room, unwrap my sandwich, and eat it in peace. Nobody took anything. Nobody even looked at my food sideways. And I've thought about this a lot since then, about what made it satisfying. Not just the outcome, but the how. I didn't yell. I didn't confront anyone directly. I didn't do anything outside of following my doctor's instructions and reporting a crime. The system ignored me 12 times. On the 13th, I made the system impossible to ignore. Sometimes the right move isn't to fight harder. It's to change the game entirely. And sometimes karma just needs the right prescription. If this story had you nodding along, or grinning at your screen, smash that like button and drop a comment below. Tell me, what's the most satisfying case of workplace justice you've ever witnessed? Or served? Subscribe if you're new here, because we've got a whole library of stories where people finally got the vindication they deserved. The fridge is closed. The thief is gone. And the avocado? Absolutely worth it.